executing the plans and we paid the MBO financing, I was invited by my former boss, Dato who's also an accountant, to join the Amanah Capital Group in August 1994. Now, initially, I assumed the position as the head of corporate services, and later as the divisional director of the capital market and securities division of the Amanah Capital Group. Now, at the Amanah Capital Group, this is where I had the benefit of top-level management, including being involved at the boardroom level until February 2001. Now, in March 2001, I was invited to be the Chief Financial Officer of Telecom Malaysia Berhad. Now, for me, at that point in time, that was a dream came true. Like most accountants, my ambition then was to be the Chief Financial Officer of a public listed company. And naturally, I was excited and I was highly motivated and undertook a number of transactions at Telecom Malaysia. Among others, prepared the funding plan for Telecom Malaysia, as well as undertaking a number of mergers and acquisition exercises as well. Now, it was barely 7 months into the job as a CFO at Dato when I received a call from Yang Berhormat Tan Sri Nur Muhammad Yaakob, who was then the advisor to Prime Minister Dr. Mahathir Mohamad. Now, at that point in time, the government, through Khazanah Nasional and through an entity called Tanah Saham, had just acquired the Group from its former owners. And Khazanah spent some 5 billion ringgit, and the idea then was to take the Group over and help resolve some of the corporate governance issues and overhang in the capital market at that point in time. So it was actually a major task. Now, this was my first shot as a CEO of an organization. Now, I was 37 years old and naturally nervous whether my training as an accountant turned banker was adequate to help me execute the mammoth task of turning around the largest infrastructure development group in Malaysia. Now, the group comprised of 11 listed companies and it had a total debts of 30 billion ringgit. Now, if you can imagine, at the rate of 8% interest per annum, the debt servicing obligation was 2.4 billion ringgit per annum, or 200 million ringgit per month. So I guess not many organizations can survive that kind of financial obligation. So I guess to me at that point in time, in that short telephone conversation, my familiarity with the Group, having been a client of mine before, and my corporate experience helped. But I guess I was also comforted by the possibility that should I ever fail in my job as a CEO, I can always fall back as a CFO somewhere in other companies. So after a few seconds of pause in that telephone conversation, I said yes to such a no. Now, anyway, I was fortunate to have received the unwavering support from the government, from the shareholders, the board, the management, and staff of the Group to execute the mammoth task. Key to the resolution of the problems at the Group was to restructure the debts at Plus and undertake an IPO to list it on the stock exchange. Now, Alhamdulillah, Plus Expressways was successfully listed on Bursa Malaysia in July 2002, and the Group was put on a stronger footing and on a profitable path with revalued net assets value of 10 billion ringgit within 3 years of the Khazanah takeover. Now, I guess Khazanah, in its acquisition of the Group, not only helped save a conglomerate in GM, but it also helped to save some 20,000 jobs, as well as along the way making some decent returns on this investment. So doubling your money after 3 years is not bad after all. Now, having completed the task at the Group, I was asked to return to Telecom Malaysia in July 2004 as the CEO. Now, this is part of the larger program for the transformation of government-linked companies, or GLCs. Now, having been inside TM and as the CFO previously, I certainly welcome the challenge to transform TM into a regional telecommunications group with particular emphasis on mobile communications. Now, TM indeed expanded its mobile business, especially into Singapore, Indonesia, and other ASEAN countries, until we decided to separate the mobile business away from the fixed line and broadband business. We then embarked on the demerger exercise of Telekom Malaysia, and this demerger involved separating TM International as the regional mobile communications company, and this is now known as the Axiata Group, and the other one, Telekom Malaysia, remaining as the national broadband champion. And this was undertaken and completed in April 2008. Now, in the midst of executing the TM demerger exercise, I was approached by Maybank, who was then looking for a successor to Tan Sri Michel, who was due to retire in 2008. Now, I then asked the board of Maybank what were the prerequisites we were looking for in the CEO. Well, they said there were three. Firstly, they were looking for someone coming from the banking industry with strong credit appreciation. Secondly, they were looking for someone who had the experience of running a large organization. As you know, there are complexities when you have to run a very large organization with the size of more than 20,000 people. And third, they were looking for someone who had the experience of taking a business into the region. And in this case, they were looking for someone who had expanded into the other parts of ASEAN and other Asian countries. So perhaps, to my mind, they were actually looking for an accountant. And the reason I said that is because all the previous CEOs of Maybank were accountants. And quite interesting, even some former executive directors like Dato, also from Maybank, also an accountant. Well, I guess to me, the initial period at Maybank was certainly very challenging. Firstly, there was a need to complete the three major positions that Maybank had embarked on in Indonesia, in Vietnam, as well as in Pakistan. These investments cost some 11 billion ringgit, and there were also some controversies surrounding those acquisitions. Now, secondly, I had to deal with the global financial crisis that unfolded in September 2008 with the collapse of Lehman Brothers. Now, this includes the need to raise some 6 billion ringgit in rights issue in order to part finance the acquisitions which I mentioned earlier. And this had to be done in a very volatile environment. And the third challenge was the need to maintain Maybank's #1 position in the market, as the next two competitors, CIMB and Public Bank, were getting very close to overtaking Maybank. Now, this is where I had to apply every single knowledge as an accountant and past corporate experience to deal with those various issues and challenges. And Alhamdulillah, with support from everyone, especially the 40,000 Maybankers, we managed to overcome those challenges, and Maybank remained as the #1 bank in Malaysia with presence across all ASEAN countries. Now, Maybank is obviously currently the most valuable company listed on Bursa Malaysia with a market capitalization of some 90 billion ringgit. Now, for me, after 5 years of hard work and on many occasions working beyond midnight, I was happily running Maybank and happily stretching its lead over the competitors. So there was no intention to leave until I was invited by the Prime Minister to his office on 15th of May. Now, in that short 5 minutes conversation, he invited me to join the cabinet. Now, for me, I felt honored, and as someone who had benefited from the inclusive new economic policy of the government, it was only natural for me to accept the invitation. I guess it was time to give back to society. I guess it was truly a national service. But joining the public service is an uncharted territory for me. Apart from overseeing the economic planning unit, I'm also in charge of the public-private partnership unit, or what we call UCAS, the Department of Statistics, Traju, Yayasan Peneraju Pendidikan Bumi Putra, Equinas, as well as Talent Corporation. Now, I still remember my nervousness when attending the first cabinet meeting on the 12th of June last year. Now, although I am relatively seasoned when it comes to boardroom meetings and so on, the cabinet is a different ballgame altogether. It's a different level. After all, this is the highest decision-making body in the country. But to my pleasant surprise, the environment was very conducive, very welcoming, and certainly not intimidating at all. Now, notwithstanding the size of the cabinet, with some 30 ministers sitting around an oval-shaped table, every single minister who has a point to contribute will be given that opportunity to speak. So, such is the conducive environment at cabinet meetings chaired by the Prime Minister. And that has helped me a lot in doing my work currently at the UP. So, ladies and gentlemen, lessons learned. Has my training as an accountant helped me in my current job? The answer is certainly yes. And for example, when it comes to working at the EPU, the economic theory that I learned certainly helped a lot. In the case of financial management, corporate law, and corporate governance subjects that I took, they helped when evaluating the various public-private partnership projects at UCAS and at Equinas. The statistics subject that I took helps in overseeing the Department of Statistics, and the human resource management that I learned helps in overseeing Telecom and making sure that Johan does a good job. Well, I guess one can say that from my own personal experience, that the accountancy profession is a very versatile profession. Now, beyond being a CFO, accountants can indeed be successful CEOs in infrastructure development, in telecommunications, and in banking. And I'm not the only example. There are many other accountants who have become successful people, like running some of the government-linked investment companies, Tanshias Van Mokhtar, Dato Sharil from EPF, for example, and some of the leading government-linked companies like Tan Sri Baki. Some even ended up managing Tabung Haji, as in Tan Sri Ismail Ismail. And of course, some accountants became very, very successful and very, very enterprising and innovative entrepreneurs, like Tan Sri Tony Fernandez. So indeed, accountants, to my mind, the accounting profession is the most versatile profession around. Now, what makes the accountancy profession the most versatile profession? Well, to me, it is the professional ethics that bind the accountants. It is the unquestionable integrity, the objectivity, the prudent behavior. Well, prudent meaning not necessarily being stingy, although accountants are known to be very stingy. The focus on fundamentals and on hard numbers, the belief in the principles of substance over form, and the pragmatic approach towards problem resolution that make accountancy, in my view, as the most versatile profession around. Ladies and gentlemen, accountants are indeed required in almost all organizations, be it in the public or in the private sector. whether in public or in private companies, whether listed or otherwise. Now, even NGOs require accountants to help them in managing their finances better. Now, in this respect, it is in our efforts to turn Malaysia to become a high-income developed nation come 2020, it is estimated that we need to increase the number of accountants to some 60,000 by that year, from the current level of 31,000 accountants. Now, to do this, the government is committed to support the MIA and other professional accounting bodies such as MICPA, ACCA, CIMA, ICAW, CPA Australia, and others in their efforts to increase the number of professional accountants. Now, especially for Talent Corp, Traju, and Yayasan Peneraju, we have, among others, programs to upskill and develop professional accountants. The government has always been keen to partner with such bodies and employers towards encouraging them to invest in upskilling accountants and employees, particularly in gaining professional qualifications. Now, in fact, in the budget 2015 speech made by the Prime Minister last month, the Prime Minister announced, among others, two measures. Firstly, the double deduction incentive on training expenses incurred by employers in providing their employees with professional qualifications such as accounting, and matching grants of some 300 million ringgit from government and the Human Resource Development Fund under the One Malaysia Grid, or globally recognized industry and professional certification program to train and upskill some 30,000 workers. Now, ladies and gentlemen, through its agencies, the government has carried out various initiatives to develop the profession. Tankop, for example, has introduced co-funding arrangements to support employers such as in new growth sectors like shared services, providing newly recruited fresh graduates with accounting professional qualifications such as MICPA, ACCA, CPA Australia, ICAW, CIMA, and IA, the Institute of International Auditors. Now, this Inspiring Accountants program supports the foundation course for non-accounting graduates recruited by employers to pursue accounting professional qualifications. And as part of promoting value-added structured internships, Tankop provides incentives for programs, undergraduates, to start accounting professional papers during their internship periods. And Tankop also collaborates with MIA on a number of programs like the mini-sector focused career fair, the structured internship program, the upskilling accounting program, and others. Another agency under my care, this is Yayasan Peneraju Pendidikan, also provides development and upskilling programs. Today, Yayasan Peneraju, in its Peneraju Hidup program, has offered scholarships for professional accounting programs to 245 individuals from all over Malaysia. And starting from this year, Peneraju EDU has committed to sponsor some 500 professional accountants every year to increase the number of professional accountants from Malaysia. And the four programs through which Peneraju intends to achieve would include the Peneraju Skill Perakaunan, Peneraju Professional Pensidilan Perakaunan, Peneraju Professional Accountant Muda, and Peneraju Professional Accountant. Now, MIA itself has its own initiatives, such as the various membership development and education programs, such as the member upskilling initiatives to assist members to upskill knowledge and gain professional qualification. And these, among others, involve the MOU signed with CPA Australia, where MIA members who have at least 10 years of continuous membership of MIA, they are able to obtain full membership by completing 3 examination papers in ethics and governance, financial reporting, and global strategy and leadership. And MIA has also launched a CFO program with CIMA. Also, there's some CPA program where some 3 million ringgit allocated to cover of 100 numerous vouchers for all MI members who enrolled in the CPU programs, and also